like to start every conversation kind of the same way. And what was a pivotal opportunity or a mentor that really shaped your career and inspired you?
Wow.
I know I had a rough
point.
start, but now we're on the train.
Oh my God, yeah. Do you want to start or do you want?
I'm gonna give it to you.
Okay, toss it right over. A pivotal moment. Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, I feel like there were so many. I feel like I was very lucky coming out of, I had so many amazing mentors in school. I went to USC and studied theater, and right outside of USC, one of the first things I auditioned for was the role as an understudy for a show at the Geffen. And it was this moment where I was kind of like, well, wait a minute, like I want to be on the stage. What if I don't ever get on stage? And it was this incredible extension and opportunity for me to learn and to sit back. And it was unbelievable. I mean, it was a play that was written by Beau Willimon, who was writing on Andor, and it was starring Chris Pine and Olivia Thirlby. And so it was just full of amazing actors that I got to like sit in the audience for and just watch them play. So that was a really pivotal moment for me because it was a great moment to learn and to be a part of something that wasn't ever going to be like my moment to shine, but just to be a part of an ensemble. I really benefited from that.
Brandon, what about you?
I think for me was shortly after I graduated high school. I was very fortunate enough to book the show Bloodline. And at the time, I had a very, very small role, but I was a part of the main family's lineage. And I got to sit back and watch these amazing actors who actually prepared and just took what they did really seriously. And I think, to be honest, from there, I developed a true appreciation and admiration for the craft that is acting. So there, my passion for it continued to grow, and it's still growing to this day. But that was really what sparked kind of my interest in like wanting to do this as a profession for X amount of years.
I had the opportunity to talk to a lot of the creatives of On Call in prepping for this, and I want to commend both of you. Everyone had such lovely things to say, not only about your talent, but about your work ethic, your preparation, the way that you portrayed the roles. It was just, I teared up a couple times, like talking to people, because it was just, you could tell they loved working with you and they loved the work that you turned in. And I got to talk to Sarah Isaacson today and about the casting process, and she shared a beautiful story of how that throughout the day of the test, it really came true and came through that you all were the characters. So I would love to hear what the casting process was like for both of you.
Okay, now you go first.
Sure.
Yes, we can spice it up.
I actually, kudos to my agent, April Lim, because I was working on another show in Vancouver at the time called The Good Doctor, and I had found out that that was the end of my character's arc on that show. So I called her and I said, hey, this is what's happening. I guess I'm off the show. And she said, well, let me call you right back. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, I called you for comfort and you just hung up on me. But she called me back 5 minutes later and she said there was a job that came, an opportunity to audition for a show that I had passed on because you wouldn't have been available, but now that you are unemployed, now you can do it. So I sent in the tape within 24 hours. I think it took about a day or two to hear back, but next thing I knew, I was on a flight to LA, screen testing with Troian, and boy, like 8 other actors, probably more. And it was an all-day event. I think we got there 7 a.m., 8 a.m. We didn't leave till about 6 in the evening. But yeah, Troian was actually the first person that I read with that day and the last person I read with. And yeah, that it happened so fast that for me, I'm still kind of reflecting back and it all feels like a dream. But yeah, that whole process happened really quickly. I think we were on set filming within like a week or so after that. We were doing ride-alongs, training and stuff. So it was, yeah, it happened very quickly.
Yes. Yeah, it was a very fast and involved experience. It was so, I don't know, it was so bizarre. I auditioned for it, and when I put myself on tape, as we all do now, and I was really quite sure that I was completely wrong for the role, and so kudos to Sarah Isaacson, because when she called me with the director's Zoom callback with Eric LaSalle, I was like, are you sure that this is correct? And she was like, yep, he wants to work with you. And then it's ahead of the test. And so I was kind of like, okay. And I had to just give over. And when I met Eric, who is a lovely human being, but I could immediately tell from working with him. And he has said the same thing. I was like, oh, I am not this man's choice. He does not want to be on this Zoom with me. He is, I don't know who he's doing this for. Maybe it's for Sarah. But I was like, not that he was unkind in any way, but I was like, I'm not your choice. And so I, again, was like, I'm just not right for this. I don't know what it is, but I'm excited to be in the room. And so we get there on the testing day, and I meet Brandon, and I get to hear that he's just flown in from Vancouver. And I was like, whoa, that's amazing. And then, yeah, we got to play. And Eric in that session was just very, very hands-on and was giving us incredible direction. And he really raised the stakes every time we got the chance to do the material. I think we worked on 3 scenes. Yep. And then when we came in at the end of the day, that was also where we got to meet our incredible creative partners, Tim and Elliot. And they were very, very, I remember actually their faces in the back of the room when you and I were both called in, because Eric was still like playing it very much like it's anyone's game. Yeah. And we were like, it's 6 p.m. and everybody else has been sent home. Oh, yeah. And it was really cool because I remember like Tim and Elliot they looked like little kids. Like they were so excited, as if they hadn't just been watching the same scene done by us a million times. Right. And that really gave me the courage and the excitement to, again, dive into it with you. Every time we did it, we found something brand new, and it was just really, really exciting. And then I didn't hear back from them for a week. Yep. And I fully was like, okay, I didn't get the role. Finally, I didn't get the role. And then on Friday, they were like, JK, you have it.
I just want to add, it's so crazy to hear, like, you can sense that you weren't, their choice, I guess. Yeah. And to have the perseverance to continue going through the process, to get to the end. I mean, what a true testament of like resiliency. Honestly. Oh, thanks. No, seriously. It's something that, like, just because you might not be like their first choice in the beginning, just like do it for yourself, not for them. Like, do it for you, and look what happened. Like, you ended up booking the job and winning them over. Like, that's amazing.
Thanks. That is truly all you can do, right? It's like, if you get the opportunity to be in the room,
make the most of it.
Make the most of it. Do what you can do with the part, and that's all you can do.
Was this the first time you had worked together?
Yeah.
Or had like auditioned opposite one another?
Yeah.
Things like that? Well, what was your first impressions?
I'll go first. Troian's one of the most, from the moment you meet her, the most giving human beings, not just as a scene partner, but as a person. There's a flow of energy that happens when you're in a conversation with her, where, some people you meet and it's just all one-sided, but she's just, giving is the word, I have to say. And to her point earlier, while we were in the scenes with her, like, scenes only really work when you are giving to your scene partner and they're giving back to you, and there's an exchange. For sure. And that's what it was every single take, not just in the screen test, but every single day at work. Yeah.
Well, it's truly a team effort. The feeling couldn't be more mutual. You constantly brought the stakes higher and higher, and I felt so terrible to yell at you, but it was, there was just so much in every single take. You brought something new for me to play off of and to learn about your character, so it felt amazing. Yeah, incredible.
Another one of the great stories was about the meeting that the two of you had with Eric and Brenna before production ever started. And I'm curious how that started informing the character for you and the creative choices that you made throughout the season.
I mean, I feel like we were just like Brandon described, we were cast, and then it was a week of ride-alongs and training and costume fittings. And so the conversation with Eric and Brenna was just such a wonderful opportunity to get to hear anything we could about, for me at least, I'll speak for myself, like anything I could about this character, because it was wonderful. We were getting our scripts, but I don't think we'd had all of them at that point. So, we were like, you guys have been sitting with this for way longer than we have. Tell us everything you know, please.
With on-call blending, dash cam, body cam, handheld cameras, it's a very interesting and unique and very visceral first responder show. Was there any physicality consciousness for you with your body cam being one of the cameramen or women?
I mean, I felt that I was a proud non-union member of the camera team. I always was so excited. I mean, it was tough getting the GoPro strapped on only because we had to like completely get undressed and then put it on. And you have to hold your weapon or hold anything in a very funny way. But I always felt so excited to be a part of a totally different creative side of the show. You know, that it was really exciting. Yes, it was my job in these scenes to continue to say my lines, to continue to give a performance for the other actors who were not wearing a GoPro. But it was also to be aware of how the camera is taking in the scene, how I can make sure to, you know, frame Brandon the best way I could, you know, which might not be natural. We might be talking and I'm facing forward, but like this is a shot about him. And so it was just really exciting to be on that visual team. Yeah.
Anything for you?
No, I think Troian depicted it, you know, perfectly. Yeah.
Were you all able to see dailies to see what the view from your body cam was to like to help inform your performance?
Not necessarily from the GoPros, because like there was a whole process about the SD card, but like sometimes Eric would sneak a daily to us, and when you watch it,
Yeah.
yeah. But I tell you, every single day, like we jump from scene to scene to scene, so we really didn't have time to like sit and like relish and like, oh, we made that turned out really cool. Every single day was just like, all right, next scene. It's such a fast-paced show, and Troian and I are practically in every scene. So yeah, we didn't really have time to just like rest on our laurels. We just had to just go, and next thing we knew, we were done filming. But yeah.
Going so quickly into production, what was your character process? What was your development of finding where you and the character overlapped? Because you've both been really celebrated for the nuance and the honesty that you've brought to the world.
Thank you. What's it like for you?
Well, for me, it's funny. My dad has this joke, but he's my mom and dad are ex-retired law enforcement, and my dad jokes and says, "You've been preparing for this all your life." And in a way, I really have, I guess, because when it came to a lot of like the police procedural stuff, like how to hold your weapon and whatnot, like it came very instinctual for me. I think that's because my parents, you know, their upbringing and whatnot. But at the same time, they policed in a very different time, during a very different time. So it was nice to pick their brain, but then to also talk to law enforcement officers who are currently on the job, because you kind of got to get both of their different perspectives, which informed me as an actor when I looked at like my T.O., Troian Harmon's character, compared to how I looked at like Sergeant Lastman. He comes from that era that my parents came from, where Troian, her character, polices in a much different way from them. So it informed me on so many ways, not just technicality, but also like understanding them on a psychological level.
For sure. There was a lot of, for me, learning on the job. We got the incredible opportunity to get to go on ride-alongs and to get to speak with officers that were incredibly generous with their experiences. And we had a wonderful opportunity to train together. And I was really scared because going into it, I was, you know, having to build 13 years of on-the-job experience. And that's something that I guess you just kind of, you have to fake. I don't have 13 years of on-the-job experience. And so it was just really wonderful to be able to be there. Sometimes we got to shoot on, you know, our police precinct was in Seal Beach, and it was actually the police station for Seal Beach. And so there were officers coming in and out on call, and saddling up to them and making friends and asking them for their stories if they had the time was, just trying to be as much of a sponge as possible.
Brandon, with it being the family business, was there anything that was particularly important to you to demonstrate or to be authentic about? Anything that was really personal to you?
Absolutely. For me, it was just displaying the humanity of these officers, right? At the end of the day, like, they're human beings. And I think through the ride-alongs, I got to experience that. Like, they have children at home and they have fears, of their kid getting into an Ivy League school or whatnot. Like, they're just normal human beings. And I wanted to tap into that, to illustrate that, to try to portray that as best I could. Yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me, was the humanity behind the badge.
Well, we've talked about the ride-alongs a little bit. What was the most memorable part of that? Because a lot of those stories actually worked their way into the season from those actual calls.
For sure, not along our ride-alongs, but the writers got to go along, got to go on their own ride-alongs, and yes, from their experiences, they got to bring in a lot of those stories. I mean, you actually have a pretty amazing story.
So my wife's uncle used to be part of, I think, San Diego Highway Patrol. So he set me up with CHP here in LA. And I think by then it was like my second or third ride along. And we're out there. And most of the night, just a couple stops, nothing too crazy. And on the way back to the station, he's like, I think we call it a night. Fine. He sees a unmarked Camaro on the highway, pulls up next to it, shines a light inside. The driver looks over at the police officer, at us, and turns off his lights and takes off. Takes off so fast. And I'm just like, oh shit. But the officer was so cool, calm, and collected the entire time. He, with his right hand was radioing it into everybody else, and he kept a good distance. But we chased that guy from downtown LA all the way to Manhattan Beach. And then he's finally getting off the highway because the helicopter's on top of the car. Where he's getting off the highway, I'm thinking that, okay, he's giving up finally, thank God. He gets back onto the highway going the other way. This chase must have taken like 15 minutes. And the whole time, I'm trying to keep it cool because he's keeping it cool. But I'm like texting my wife. I'm like in a high speed pursuit. I can't text you right now.
Oh my God.
Long story short, he ends up getting out of the car running. They find him. He's like, you think we should call it a night? Yeah, I think we should call it a night. I think I'm good. The whole way home, I love to listen to a podcast, some music. I drove home in silence. I got home, my wife was asleep already. She's like, hey, baby, how was it? I'm like, I'll talk to you tomorrow. I sat there wired for about an hour. And my moral of the story is, that was one ride along for me. Mm-hmm. These officers have to do that every single day. And how do they function? How are they present for their families? How do they sleep at night? So kudos to them. We get to play a small part in illustrating what they go through on a daily basis. Yeah.
Well, you bring up an excellent point because I think as actors, we take a lot of our role on us and the environment and the show and the tonality and that energy. And do either of you have a process for decompressing before you go home to your family?
Yeah, I mean, it was so full on that honestly, the time to set and the time from set was still spent for me learning, going over the next day's lines and thinking about what was the order of scenes. Just because, as Brandon said, it was really, really jam packed. And so I would say it was almost like maybe that was my decompression in an odd way, because you have those intense experiences on set, and then sort of putting yourself in the mind frame of like, okay, and what's tomorrow going to be like? And let me see how I can be there. I mean, meditation is always a really important part. When, if I have any chance to meditate, that's very important. And I wish I had better decompression things. But what we joked about was that, like, my kids just didn't care. It was like I walked in, and they were like, it's... Yeah. They were like, read me Eloise. And I was like, okay, I guess this is decompression, So, but
Real high, real fun.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The drive home for me, it was about, depending on traffic, about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive every day to work from where I live, because we film in Long Beach. And that for me was preparation going in. Okay, I'm leaving, for a second, the life that I have there, and I'm here to work. And then also the drive home. By the time I got home, I was able to just leave it all behind and be a husband and a dog dad. So for me, it was the commute.
Okay. Nice. Well, that's a great segue because you all filmed entirely on location, correct? There was nothing on stages?
Yes, no
What-
stages.
What were the gifts and opportunities of being on location in Long Beach?
I mean, just the community of Long Beach is so incredible. We got to experience so many different places, and it really just, there was no place to take yourself out of the story. If we were hanging out in between scenes, it was either in the cruiser or like in a chair in an alleyway. There's no like, I'll go hang out in my trailer and then like which is awful. I really hate doing that because then you feel disconnected, and then when you got to come back, it's like,
Well, I was going to say that was actually something that was really nice on set because you guys were always there with the cast.
Yeah.
With the day players, you were always there, and it wasn't this disconnect of status, or it made it very much a team. It was really nice, actually.
I'm
So it
glad
may
that
have
you
been
felt that way.
of essential because of time, but it was really nice.
It was really, and it was always an opportunity because your experience was there. Whatever time we had was an opportunity for, you to teach us proper CPR and for, you know what I mean? For us to ask you questions in between the different setups to say okay, now the camera's going to be coming over here on us. What was I doing in that beat? Is that correct? So it was really important to always be on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, you guys made it look very effortless, but I know there's a lot of effort and preparation to make things look effortless. So is there any advice you have for young actors, because you were dealing with technical advisors and armorers and stunt coordinators? How did you still hold space for your craft and in amongst all of those other elements that made the project so special?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that is a great question. I'll say for me, one of the things I struggle with the most on a daily basis is sometimes imposter syndrome. And, when you get cast for the role, you're like, great, I got cast. But then you're like, oh my God, I'm expected to be this character. The reality of it sinks in. So I think whenever I had doubts, just reminding myself, they hired you to do your homework, and they trust you that whatever you bring, that they trust you that you're going to portray this character in the most authentic way that you think you can, and there is no wrong answer to doing that. But yeah, for me, it was just whenever I had doubts, I would love to pick Tim and Elliot's brain. If I had questions, I would ask them, okay, where does this lead me to? Or why is he making this choice? Like, because who is he? Where did he come from? And then as the series progresses, you get to meet our family members. Like, one of our family members are here. Actually, Michelle Bonilla, she played my mom in the show. And getting to meet her and introduce her character into the show told me more about my character. So to Troian's point earlier, just being a sponge, but also trusting in yourself and your instincts.
Yeah.
Oh.
Nope. couldn't say it better.
You're like, mic down. You all had two fantastic directors that split the season, Eric LaSalle and Brenna Malloy, who also served as producers. How did you all build trust and partnership with your directors?
I mean, I suppose with Eric, obviously the process began earlier because, we went through the casting process with him, and we had a lot of time to speak with him and to kind of see, it was obviously still a new experience when we got on set. And then with Brenna, she was really wonderful. She was really available in the lead up to the episodes. And
Prepared.
Deeply, oh my gosh, so prepared, which was amazing. And she was willing to share some of those materials with us, ahead of time, and kind of talk to us about what she was thinking going into it. And it was really, interesting because we just started working with Brenna when the strike happened, and so we paused, and then when we picked back up with Brenna, and so, obviously there was not a lot of conversation going on, but it was like we'd had a few days in the days leading up to when we paused to kind of experience her. And then it felt like everybody went away to their own separate camps. And then when we were back on set together, it was like we'd all, done our like separate homework, and we're really excited to be there. And so we kind of all came in with like a bunch of new energy and new excitement. And yeah.
What was cool was, remember the certain days where like we'd film like a part of episode 2 and then a part of episode 4, and we'd work with Eric in the morning and then like Brenna in the evening.
Yeah.
And like to hop from scene to scene, episode to episode, for me, it was a first. I had never done that. But then at the same time, like you get to, I don't know, because like in a way, like you after working with a director for a while, you understand like what they want. Like Eric's biggest thing is stakes, right? What are the stakes in the scene? And then when you hop over and work with Brenna, she offers something that like, so you're constantly adding layers as you go. And I feel like the work gets better throughout the day because you're getting to work with two different directors who offer two vastly different things.
For sure.
Troian, I'm curious, now having a career also as an episodic director, what has been illuminated for you on the acting process from being in the director's chair?
Gosh, I guess just so much, I don't know. There's almost more, how do I put this? It's very, very strange. Coming to it primarily as an actor, at first, you come to it and you understand that you're a part of a larger ecosystem, you're a part of an ensemble, but having the experience behind the camera offers me the understanding that when a director comes in and gives me a note, or when I can sense that they're being pressured about something else over there, it just allows me an extra, I don't know, spidey sense or something like that, where I'm like, oh, this note is actually to accomplish that, or you're feeling the pressure from the fact that the sun is going down. And so, I feel like there's a little bit of, I can drop, not that I hope I didn't have a very big ego, but there can be a little bit more of an ego drop where it's like, okay, it's not about me. How do I help you accomplish this? Instead of a like, how do I approach this scene? What's my motivation? It's like, okay, that's my work. My job is to get you this performance so that you can, sink your teeth into that. And it also just bought me a lot of grace with the directors. Like Brenna was kind enough to share her shot list with me, which was supremely helpful. To go in and understand, what are you trying to go for? What is the tone? And just so much respect.
She's such an actor's director.
She's
fantastic. She's fantastic. I've always believed we give a lot to the work while we're working, but the character also gives us something back. And I'm curious, what was one of your takeaways from your character this season of the show?
Boy, I have to think on that. Is yours the top of your head?
Let's see. I guess.
We can circle back.
I know. I'm like, wow, that's a very, very good question. So much. I feel so deeply grateful to have met Harmon at this point in my life because, since I was working on a show, I've become a mom, and to get to meet a new character who is not a mother herself, but has deeply maternal feelings towards everybody that she works with. And to get to express that, but not feel like, to get to express it in a completely different way. How do you express that towards your coworkers? How do you take care of somebody, but also build them up and test them at the same time? And it was just a really wonderful experience. So I guess meeting her there and trying to raise myself up to what she was trying to accomplish was just taught me a lot about myself and about grace. And yeah.
Thanks.
It's funny, hearing you say that kind of sparked, I guess what I had learned. I didn't realize it until now, but I would consider myself a bit of an introvert at times, depending on the setting. And by playing Diaz, what that taught me was to have more curiosity in other people, because through understanding other people, you better understand yourself. And what the job does is, every day you're interacting with, people from all different walks of life. And by having to do that every single day on set, not just in the scenes, but also with other crew members, it kind of brought me out of my shell a little more. And so I guess, there's beauty in connecting with other people because, like I said, we get a better sense of understanding of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite scene or action sequence from season 1?
I mean, anytime we got to be in the pod car.
Yeah.
The pod car was the best. They attached a stunt driver to the top of our car and disconnected my pedals and my wheel. So it was like a little toy wheel for me. And then that guy just did what he does, and I had to pretend I was totally cool with it, and I was doing it. So those were really fun days.
They were. Anytime that we got to like run, the one that comes to my mind is the last episode, I believe. We're filming in a big open lot, and we had done the scene a couple times. And I go chase after this character named Leona, if you haven't watched the show yet. And we had taken a break. So I go to sit, and I sat for too long, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, we need to go again. So I didn't stretch. My legs got cold. So I go to get up from the out of the car, and I go to run, and my body goes one way, but my legs stay planted because they felt like 1,000,000 pounds. And I just face planted, and I rolled, and I like split open my hand, and I got up, and I continued the scene, and I just looked at Brenna, and I'm like, we better use that one.
Yeah.
That's the one that we better use. But no, anytime we got to be physical, And
Yeah.
And this show really brought out a lot of physicality in both of us that we didn't even really know that we were capable of. So, yeah, it was exciting.
Was there anything that was intimidating about the stunt train? You guys had a fantastic stunt team.
We really did. I mean, it was so, you just want to live up to their expectations. Running was always intimidating with Brandon because he's a superhero and I'm a very fast runner, but I just look like I'm in a light jog next to him. It sucks. It's really unfair. And so I'm glad that it kind of goes with our characters because I'm like, okay, Diaz, you're the younger one. Go, go, go. But yeah, you've just got that like Tom Cruise superhero run, and I just don't have it. I don't have it.
I'm curious, as the industry continues to evolve under our feet, what keeps you in love with the craft?
That's a really, really good question.
For me, it's continuing to create. I just got into directing recently, just directed my second film, and for me, the periods of hiatus for me that allow me to tap into something different than acting, that's really helped me because they say idle time is the devil's playground, and for me, my brain goes to really weird places if I'm not creating something, whether it be a song in the shower or a film with my wife. So for me, it's really important to just continue doing that because, like you said, the industry is evolving and opportunities are becoming a lot less. So anytime that you get to be on set, like I'd rather be acting in a short film than sitting on my couch. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. I feel very grateful. I'm part of an acting class that was active during the strike. I mean, it's active constantly, but I was able to be in it during the strike, which really saved me mentally. And in the year since we've wrapped, to be in an acting class, because so much of auditions, obviously they're way out of our control and they're really about a performance. And so to be in a community of actors and be watching actors, is just amazing for me because I learn so much watching other actors, and also getting to work on great plays is just an amazing, it really held me over when I was so excited to be working on Harmon and be working with you. And I was like, okay, nobody can do anything right now. We're all in the same boat. Nobody can do anything. But it was an amazing return to the theater for me that was really got me through it because I was like, okay, I can do this. And if I can do this alone or if I can do this with a group of people, it still feels like the craft that I love.
Well, sadly, we're out of time. I have one more question, but first I just want to say on a personal note, thank you for being 1 and 2 on the call sheet. You created a really incredible cast family.
Thank you.
And a really beautiful show, and it's a great show to watch. What is one thing you would go back and tell your young actor self?
Gosh. Do you have this? You're closer to them.
Yeah. I think for me, self-confidence is big, and I've done a lot of growing up because of the opportunities that I've had being an actor, and because of the cities that I've been able to go to being an actor and the people that I've met. So for me, it's you don't really have to know what the destination is, where you're going. Just trust your instincts, trust God, and life will lead you there. I felt many years ago that I would be a professional baseball player, and life didn't lead me there. Life led me to this career on this stage right now, next to this wonderful human being and you yourself. So just trust in the process. And you don't really have to always understand it to trust and have faith. That's mine.
Yeah, I guess don't try to get it right. I think it's, piggybacking off of what you said, but I think that was a huge thing that I still feel pressure, obviously, there's a performance in my head when I read something, and then there's the performance that actually comes out, and it is infuriating that there's a gap in between those. And so letting myself understand that there's a fluid craft going on. It is not a perfect thing that I'm trying to execute, and that I don't know what it is. I constantly am putting my trust in my scene partners, in my directors, in the writers that I get to work with, to say, like, what are we building? Less what can I do and what do I get to do here? What's my thing? But what are we trying to build together? So I wish I could have imparted that to her.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And thank
you for
all
doing
for
this.
coming.
Thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you for coming.